Hello?
Hi. I saw your ad in the newspaper, and I'd really like to meet you. I think we'd get along great. I'm 22 years old, and I thought, well, maybe, I don't know. Well, I mean, this is the first time I've ever really called someone like this before, and I just wanted to meet you sometime. Jeez, I screwed that up.
Personal ads, an abbreviated shopping list of personal desires and attributes. We've all seen them. We've probably even glanced through them, perhaps out of curiosity, perhaps for humor, or possibly seeking a date. Are these ads a sign of the times in which we live? An impersonal world full of people with too little time? Perhaps the reality is more and more people are using personal ads as a way to meet people. Some hope to find a life partner. Others are looking for friendly companionship. Would you respond to a classified ad to find a friend or start a relationship? How you choose your intimate friends is less important than having them, because healthy relationships are significant factors in your overall health and well-being. Think about the person you consider your best friend, the person you trust implicitly. Is it your brother or sister? Your roommate? Maybe a cousin or a coworker, or perhaps your partner. What do you look for in this friendship?
I'd have to say loyalty and also honesty comes along with that, because if you can't trust someone, which is built into loyalty, then there's no friendship there, because if you can't rely on someone to be there for you, then it's not worth it.
Honesty, definitely.
Someone that listens and someone that I can say anything to.
Trust is the thing that is the most valuable, because if you have some friends, you need to know that they can be there for you when you need them, and that you will be also willing to do something for them because you care about them. So that's the most important thing, I think.
Maybe several people come to mind for you. If so, you're lucky. According to the experts, most of us are fortunate to develop one or two lasting friendships in a lifetime. What makes a relationship lasting? What makes it healthy? Why are you comfortable with certain people more than others? How do you know who you can trust with your deepest, darkest secrets? The answer to these questions begins with an understanding of what an intimate relationship is. Intimate relationships are those that offer validation, understanding, and a sense of being valued intellectually, emotionally, and physically. Intimate relationships include more than romantic relationships. Intimate relationships can also include family and close friends. You can identify and define intimate relationships by looking at them in terms of three characteristics: behavioral independence, need fulfillment, and emotional attachment. Behavioral independence is the mutual impact that people have on each other as their lives and daily activities become intertwined. This interdependence usually becomes stronger over time, ultimately reaching the point where each person would feel a void in his or her life if the relationship ended. Need fulfillment relates to the psychological needs that are often met only through relationships. These needs include the need for approval and a sense of purpose in life, the need for intimacy, someone with whom we can share our feelings freely, the need for social integration, someone with whom we can share our worries and concerns, the need to be a nurturant, or someone we can take care of, the need for assistance, someone we can count on to help us during difficult times, and the need for reassurance or affirmation of our own worth, someone who will tell us that we matter. Emotional attachment, the final characteristic of intimacy, refers to the feelings of love and closeness we feel for another person. Now, think about your best friend again. Does he or she influence your life in some way on a regular basis? Are your personal needs met by this individual? Do mutual feelings of love and attachment exist in this relationship? There are several levels or dimensions of intimacy, only one of which includes sexuality. In fact, many satisfying and lasting intimate relationships go beyond the need for sexual contact. For example, who do you call when you're having a crisis or just need someone to share some serious feelings with? Who makes you laugh? Is it someone around whom you feel completely comfortable? Who energizes and stretches you intellectually, stimulates you to get things done, encourages you to stand up for a political cause, or motivates you to delve into the mysteries of life? What about the person who needs your help? Sometimes it just feels good to be needed by someone. These are examples of the types of intimate connections that can exist in healthy and meaningful relationships. When you experience several of these connections with one person, the foundation is present for a healthy, intimate relationship, a relationship in which you can help each other grow. Are you satisfied with the depth of the relationships in your life? Success in forming intimate relationships has a lot to do with the way we grow up. From the moment we're born, a pattern of relationships typically unfolds. During our early childhood years, family members or others who lived with us while we were growing up probably had the greatest impact on our social and psychological development. A family network often provides the sense of security that children need to develop into healthy adults. But as we mature, our relationships widen to include friends, co-workers, acquaintances, and sexual partners. As we leave the security of our families, we begin to develop a network of intimate relationships that help us meet our personal needs of belonging and security. Everyone's network is different. For some, it may be filled with numerous people. Others may prefer a smaller, more private network. Regardless of preferences, the formation of a network of intimate relationships is essential for our emotional well-being. Depression and even suicide can occur in situations where people become isolated. While it takes time and commitment to earn the privilege of a meaningful friendship, the rewards can last a lifetime. And being a friend is just as important as having a friend. Do the people you consider to be your best friends feel the same way about you? Think about what you want or need from your friends. Are you willing to give those things in return? Do you make time for your friends? Or do you tend to change your plans with them if something or someone better comes along? Do you give of yourself in their time of need? Do you keep the secrets that they tell you in confidence? Are you willing to share your own feelings with them? Do you let them know you appreciate them by telling them, writing them notes, or just giving them a hug? Do you accept them for who they are? Are you understanding and forgiving of minor offenses? Do you show a genuine interest in their lives? Or do you spend most of the time talking about yourself? Do you take them for granted? Do you cultivate and nurture your best friendships? While friends and family are vitally important in our lives, eventually most people broaden their scope of relationships to include intimate sexual relationships. Besides the sexual romantic intimacy, these partnerships are often characterized by a special level of commitment. Generally, most couples are either married heterosexual couples, two people of the opposite sex bonding with traditional wedding vows, cohabitating heterosexual couples, two people of the opposite sex living together in the same household, lesbian couples, two women in a loving and committed relationship, gay male couples, two men in a loving and committed relationship. Love relationships typically include all the characteristics of friendships: common bonds of nurturance, enhancement of personal well-being, and a general sense of mutual regard, trust, and security. but they also involve feelings related to passion and caring. A healthy love relationship is often reflected in these characteristics: fascination with your partner, the exclusiveness of the relationship, sexual desire, passion, giving the utmost to the relationship, and being a champion or advocate of your partner. What do you look for in a love relationship? What makes you attracted to someone romantically?
I'd have to say, like, the physical does come into play to just get that started, but I think the personality is what really, brings out the attraction, because a person can have all the great looks in the world, but they could be nothing inside.
What I value most in romance: sincerity, honesty. It all goes down to that.
I think, to be honest, the first thing that attracts me is kind of physical characteristics, but after that, it's kind of the things that are more related to friendship, is like trust and respect and other really important values if you want to establish some really good relationship with somebody and spend your life with a girl. It's really important.
At initial glance, I would say physical appearance is the first attraction to a person, but it's usually their intellect and their warmth that keeps the conversation going. And usually what I find is the people that I find most attractive when I first meet them aren't the people that I find myself clicking with and really wanting to spend time with.
A physical attraction to someone can be powerful as it can be misleading. What distinguishes sexual relationships from others is the presence of limerence. Limerence is that heart-throbbing, goosebumpy feeling we get when we feel sexually turned on by a person. But sometimes that feeling overshadows common sense. Sexual relationships based only on limerence may or may not develop into long-lasting, committed relationships. And when they don't, someone often ends up getting hurt. How can you tell whether your relationship is companionate love, the kind that is secure, trusting, and long-lasting, or passionate love, characterized by a state of high arousal, preoccupation, and insecurity, or merely infatuation? It's not unusual to confuse the three. Especially early in a relationship, infatuation in particular is often confused with love. Both produce intoxicating rushes of excitement and strong desire, but infatuation is usually short-lived and sometimes disappointing. Your ability to develop healthy and fulfilling relationships depends greatly on your comfort with intimacy. Are you comfortable with letting people get close to you? Does sexual intimacy scare you? There are many potential barriers to forming intimate relationships, including emotional immaturity, a poor sense of responsibility, fear of being hurt, low self-esteem and insecurity, and hidden hostility. How do we develop these barriers? Where do they come from? They are often the result of the various experiences throughout our lives that had an impact. Your family environment in particular plays an important role in determining your level of comfort with intimacy. What if sharing, trust, and openness did not occur in your family? Are family gatherings filled with warm moments? For some people, childhood memories are clouded with feelings of inadequacy, fear, and resentment. Feelings that can easily be carried into later relationships without even knowing it. A dysfunctional family is one in which the interaction between the family members inhibits rather than promotes growth. Of course, it's impossible for any group of people who live together daily to interact perfectly all the time. What distinguishes true dysfunctionality is a setting where negative interactions are the norm rather than the exception. Children in such families often develop their own coping skills and behavioral attitudes that shield them from further pain. These skills and attitudes usually manifest themselves in some way in adulthood and can interfere with the development of healthy relationships. But even the most extreme cases can usually be helped by a combination of introspection, support from loved ones, and professional counseling. Another barrier to intimacy, and a potentially destructive force in any relationship, is jealousy. It's important to realize that jealousy is not a sign of intense devotion or passion for someone. Rather, jealous feelings and behaviors usually reflect insecurities, overdependence, and unrealistic expectations. Has jealousy ever been an issue in one of your relationships? The key ingredients to companionate love, the real thing, includes trust, understanding, and communication. Without them, relationships often face serious challenges and difficulties. Some end up failing. How do you know when a relationship is failing or has become unhealthy? Often there's a change in the level or degree of communication, or there are unresolved conflicts that just won't go away, or possibly there are changes in intimate interactions such as decreased desire for sexual relations and a significant decrease in the amount of time spent together. It's important to recognize the symptoms of a failing relationship before it gets beyond the point of being able to be saved, and then seek the help of a professional who specializes in working with couples.
The first thing I might ask is 2 words to describe your relationship with your significant other. And if they were negative things like stressful and angry and bitter or whatever, then I know where I have to start. And your hearing that would make a difference too, because then you'd say, I didn't even think about that until she asked me that, but gee, here's the problem. If you're afraid to confront your significant other, then there's obviously a personal problem, and maybe you shouldn't even be in that relationship. Probably, that's a signal to me it's probably not healthy. If this person's just very shy and unassertive, then we might start talking about some other issues. We might even talk about, well, is this a pattern that you had before this person? Maybe there were some past relationships. Maybe there were parents or a father or a mother who intimidated them, and then asking them if they see any parallel with that.
The ability to express your feelings openly and constructively is critical to the success of any relationship.
First thing, use iMessages. I feel, I want, I'd like to see happen. When this particular thing happens, this is how I feel. What I'd like to have happen in the future is that we don't argue over little things, or if that is the case. And I would like for you to take out the garbage when it's full. I would like for you to take your turn when it's turn to wash the dishes. And what happens is that assertiveness comes out. And then you shut up, let the other person start talking, and say what they want.
iMessages are effective communication tools that remove any sense of blame and can help prevent the development of defensive feelings. It's important to remember that communication is a two-way street. Many people think communication is all about talking to each other. But if everybody's talking and nobody's listening, then there is no communication.
Listening is really a challenge for a lot of us because we can't wait for that person to shut up so we can say what we want to say. But that's very selfish, and we don't think it is. And again, in a relationship with your significant other, you have to listen even more because obviously that person wants to be heard by you more than anything.
Intimate relationships of a sexual nature are an important part of most people's lives. That's why it's vital to sort through the infinite number of often conflicting sexual messages that are an inherent part of our contemporary society. Together, with your personal experiences and values, they have much to say about your sexual identity. Of course, it all begins with genetics, when your sex is determined at conception. But your sex simply refers to the biological condition of being male or female. Gender, on the other hand, refers to your sense of masculinity or femininity as defined by society. Unfortunately, gender stereotypes and gender role expectations can sometimes hinder your ability to express your true sexual identity. How would you define masculinity and femininity?
I guess masculinity would probably be it'd be something like being tough, taking the blows, standing up, not showing emotion, I guess. Just being overly confident and just like, you know, nothing bothers you, you know, don't let your emotions show, I guess. Femininity would probably be more passive, I guess, more, you know, doing what other people want you to do, being accepted into social situations where you're more, I don't know, more, more feminine, like petite.
Masculinity would be strength and assertiveness, anything that's not more on an emotional scheme of things, because I would think femininity is the emotional scheme of things and masculinity would be the more critical ABC types of things.
Masculinity, man. Well, that's a hard question. I can't really answer that. You know, it's like we're all people, so it's really hard to say, you know, what makes a man a man. You know, it's not being tough, it's not going to the gym, working out, lifting weights, being as big as you can. It's not, you know, trying to see how many girls you can get. I think it's all in the person, you know, and how they present themselves to you, or how just how that person is.
People often think of masculinity and femininity in very black and white terms, such as men are expected to be strong and unemotional, and women should be passive and emotional. Most views of masculinity and femininity and what is acceptable or appropriate have been influenced by society. But society isn't black and white. It's black and white and red and yellow. It's straight, it's gay, it's bisexual. In other words, society is diverse. So is it fair to impose restricted expectations on people? For people whose sexual identity or form of sexual expression differs from the traditional norms of society, strict gender role expectations can create conflict.
It's not something you just wake up and say, you know, I think I'm going to try this today. It's been something I've noticed all my life now that I look back on it. I was never one for sports. I always wanted to be inside with my mom cooking or cleaning. I loved to read. Hated sports with a passion. Hated military with a passion, so when my brothers would go outside and play commando, I'd sit inside and play with my sister's Barbie dolls. Or read a book, whatever, anything to stay out of the rough and tumble stuff outside. I am no more unnatural than anybody else in this world. What I do behind closed doors is my business, just as much as what any straight person does behind their doors is their business.
Regardless of your sexual orientation, gay, lesbian, bisexual, or heterosexual, to develop healthy sexual attitudes and behaviors, you must first learn to recognize and accept your own sexual needs and desires. What you find sexually stimulating may not even be an option for somebody else. When you find that person who shares your sexual expression, you may begin to develop a special relationship. But, just as with non-sexual relationships, to make it rewarding takes time, communication skills, and mutual levels of intimacy. Taking the time to get to know each other can help a relationship reach a more meaningful level, as well as reducing the risks associated with sexual activity. How well do you communicate with your sexual partner? Do you know your partner's sexual past? Can you talk about what you like or don't like during sex? Can you reject sex without hurting your partner's feeling? Do you fake your sexual enjoyment? Could you comfortably tell your partner that you want to use a condom to avoid pregnancy or sexually transmitted diseases? Being able to discuss private and personal matters with your partner is a sign of a mature relationship. Couples able to discuss sexual needs and desires will also be able to discuss any problems that could arise in their sexual life. Sexual dysfunction should not be a source of embarrassment. They are actually quite common, and most cases can be treated successfully if both partners are willing to work together to solve the problem. The intricacies of human sexuality can be confusing, exciting, painful, joyous, frightening, and wonderful. Your sexual self is an integral part of who you are. Sexually healthy adults accept their sexual identity and orientation and are comfortable with who they are. They engage in sexual activities that are satisfying between two affectionate and consenting people. Sexually mature people carefully examine risks and benefits and make decisions accordingly. They learn that sex is not a contest or a game. It doesn't require the assistance of drugs or alcohol and isn't something to be taken lightly. Sexually healthy adults communicate their feelings and intentions to each other. They respect each other, and they're able to grow and evolve from the experience. Some may marry, others may remain single. Developing satisfying and rewarding relationships can be one of the healthiest things you can do for yourself. Do you give the relationships in your life the time and attention they deserve?